Pain is woven into the fabric of every life. There is no path free of difficulty, no achievement without struggle, no growth without discomfort. Pain comes to the strong and the weak alike, to the wise and the unwise. It is not personal. It is inevitable. For the Stoics, pain is not an enemy. It is a tool, a teacher, a forge. This video is not about escaping pain. It is about facing it with calm. It is about rising through it, being shaped by it, and emerging stronger on the other side. The Stoics did not promise comfort. They promised clarity. They taught that character is revealed in the crucible of trial, and that your response is the truest measure of who you are. This video is designed to cultivate a mindset of resilience and inner strength. Here, you will not encounter empty theories. You will find practical wisdom, time-tested and lived. You will hear the enduring lessons of Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and others who endured great suffering and emerged whole. Let this be a guide for the moments when life feels heavy. Let it remind you, suffering is not a sentence, it is a season. And in every season, you hold the power to choose who you become. Let us begin. 1. The nature of pain. Pain is a signal. It tells you that something matters. The Stoics taught that pain is not the problem. It is your judgment about pain that causes distress. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." This insight is essential. Physical pain and emotional pain are realities that will arise throughout life. No one is exempt from illness, loss, disappointment, or stress. These forms of pain cannot always be prevented. What can be shaped is the meaning we attach to them and the way we move through them. Suffering is not fixed. It takes shape through interpretation. When pain is judged as unfair, undeserved, or meaningless, resentment builds. That resentment deepens the suffering. When pain is viewed as something to be learned from, it becomes a test of resilience. It becomes part of a process of becoming wiser and more stable. How you understand the pain you face determines whether it drains you or strengthens you. The mind requires discipline to handle pain properly. Just as the body responds to physical stress by building endurance, the mind must respond to emotional stress by becoming more aware and deliberate. This growth does not happen automatically. It comes through practice. When discomfort rises, resist the urge to escape it immediately. Sit with it. Let it inform you. Ask yourself what this experience is uncovering. Ask what habit, belief, or desire is being exposed. Pain often shows you your attachments. It brings to light the things you have come to depend on for stability or identity. If you feel crushed by criticism, it may show that your sense of worth is dependent on praise. If rejection devastates you, it may show that your peace depends on validation. If discomfort feels unbearable, it may show that you have placed too much trust in comfort. These insights are not always pleasant, but they are useful. They help you identify areas where you have misplaced control. The Stoics taught that you must return the focus inward when pain arises. Bring your attention back to what you can govern: your thoughts, your choices, and your principles. Do not chase control where there is none. Anchor yourself in the inner domain where your influence remains firm. This redirection is not instant. It takes repetition, but over time, it changes how you respond. There is no requirement to fear pain. There is a requirement to face it with courage. Let it strip away the surface. Let it show you what you must confront within yourself. Let it expose the illusions you have held on to, the false measures of strength or happiness. This is the beginning of renewal. Pain that is faced with awareness becomes a source of correction. It becomes a source of truth. Growth begins where avoidance ends. Avoidance delays understanding. It creates a habit of running from the very moments that could strengthen you. When you stop resisting pain and begin to observe it, you create space for renewal. Pain marks the edge of your comfort zone, and it is often at that edge where meaningful development starts. It pushes you to reflect, to adapt, and to act with more purpose. Pain does not offer comfort, but it does offer clarity. It brings into focus the habits, attachments, and expectations that are no longer useful. In this clarity, You gain the opportunity to rebuild your life on more stable ground. With every new hardship, there is a fork in the path. You can allow the situation to shape your behavior and reaction, or you can let the challenge realign you with what matters most. When you reflect on what kind of person you want to be, even in difficulty, you set a standard. You can choose to slow down when the pressure rises. You can choose patience when you feel frustration building. You can choose to learn when your first impulse is to complain. These are not one-time choices. They are repeated acts of discipline. Each repetition strengthens the connection between your values and your behavior. Over time, these patterns create resilience. Composure is not created by chance. It is practiced in moments of tension. When you train yourself to stay steady during stress, you build trust in your ability to respond wisely. Choosing understanding means recognizing that pain is often a sign that something within you needs attention. It could be a belief, a fear, or a past wound. Investigating these patterns helps you avoid repeating them. Pain becomes a source of insight rather than a cycle of reaction. To grow from pain, you do not need complicated strategies. You need honesty and steady attention. Growth begins with awareness of your thoughts, actions, and choices under pressure. Presence allows you to notice when your mind wants to escape or assign blame. Perspective allows you to step back and examine the bigger picture. You may not be able to remove the pain, but you can adjust your response and align it with who you want to become. Stay close to what is within reach. That includes your ability to slow your breath, to pause before responding, to speak with clarity, and to act with self-respect. These small actions form the foundation for long-term growth. They remind you that you are not powerless. You have tools, you have choices. Your reason, your values, and your willingness to learn are always available to you, even in difficulty. These qualities transform pain into direction. They give hardship a shape that supports your development instead of distorting it. Pain becomes meaningful when you use it to refine your character. When it shows you what you are capable of handling, you begin to carry yourself with quiet strength. The path to inner power is built through these repeated efforts. It is not instant, and it is not easy, but it is available to anyone who is willing to meet pain with clarity and purpose. 2. Control and acceptance. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when we separate what is within our control from what is not. Pain often blurs this boundary. It tempts us to grasp at control where there is none. Pain is part of the natural world. It will arrive without your permission. You cannot stop its arrival, but you can control how you meet it. You can control your perspective, your decisions, your behavior. You can stay aligned with virtue, even under pressure. Acceptance is not defeat. It is not indifference. It is clarity. When you accept what is outside your control, you stop wasting energy resisting it. You direct your strength toward what can be shaped. Your response. The Stoics urge us to focus on the work of the soul. External events shift constantly, but your character is always within your reach. In moments of hardship, the Stoic asks you to return to what is yours, to your thoughts, your values, and your actions. You can be honest even when honesty is uncomfortable. You can be courageous even when fear is present. You can remain composed even when the world around you feels unstable. These are not traits reserved for ideal conditions. They are decisions made in the middle of difficulty. They are within your grasp because they begin in your mind and take form through deliberate choice. Hardship is a field for application. It gives you a chance to live your principles in real time. The Stoic sees every obstacle as an opportunity to develop self-command. Each struggle is a mirror. It shows where your discipline holds and where it weakens. That feedback is valuable. It allows for correction. It invites progress. The work of the soul is to meet those challenges, not with denial, but with preparation and strength. This work is not abstract. It is practiced in ordinary choices. How you speak when you're frustrated, how you act when you're tired, how you treat others when you're hurting. When pain visits, remind yourself, this is part of nature. Nothing irregular is happening. Loss, injury, change, these are built into the structure of existence. Every life includes moments of difficulty. Every person, no matter how fortunate or prepared, will face something they cannot control. This does not make life unfair. it makes it real. Understanding this truth can dissolve some of the tension that comes with resistance. You do not need to agree with what happened. You need to align with what is. Acceptance begins when you stop fighting the fact of the event and start focusing on your role within it. You may feel grief, frustration, confusion, but you still have agency. You can act with clarity. You can return to principle. You can hold your posture in the face of difficulty. That posture is your character. When you refuse to argue with reality, you conserve energy. You stop draining yourself through complaint and reactivity. You return to what you can do. You build from what remains. This is the Stoic way of meeting pain, not with detachment, but with directed effort, with discipline in thought and steadiness in action. You stand within the experience and shape your response with intention. This is how the soul is strengthened through continuous application, through living each day with self-mastery at the center of your conduct. 3. Endurance as training. Endurance is more than survival. It is a form of mastery. To endure well means to remain in control of your mind and actions through difficulty. The Stoics believed that adversity builds strength through repeated exposure. They compared life's challenges to physical training. Just as the body becomes stronger through resistance, the mind gains resilience through challenge. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This was not metaphorical, it was instruction. It was a reminder that difficulty is the proper ground for growth. Pain tests your resolve. It forces decisions that reveal your principles. In pressure, there is no space to pretend. Your habits and values either support you or collapse. When you endure hardship without losing your balance, you learn that your strength is real. You begin to trust yourself. That trust builds confidence. Enduring with integrity also clarifies what matters to you. It helps you identify what you are willing to struggle for and what no longer deserves your energy. The process of developing endurance starts with structure. Self-discipline gives your life a foundation that can absorb shock. This discipline is not driven by punishment. It is created through intentional repetition. Morning reflection helps you center your priorities. Evening journaling gives you perspective on your behavior. Moments of silence increase your awareness. Acts of restraint strengthen your judgment. Speaking truthfully when it is difficult reinforces your values. These habits are not dramatic, but they are powerful. They increase your ability to remain stable when discomfort appears. Preparation cannot begin in crisis. It begins in daily living. Waiting for suffering to train the mind is too late. Begin now. You do not need extreme conditions to grow. Seek out mild difficulty. Walk when it would be easier to drive. Fast when it would be easier to snack. Hold your words when impatience rises. These are exercises in self-control. They create a pattern of staying present and composed when things are inconvenient or uncertain. Endurance also requires attention. You need to know your limits without becoming a victim to them. Learn to sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. The goal is not to ignore pain, but to move through it with awareness. Each moment of discomfort is a chance to train your attention, to clarify your standards, and to recommit to your principles. These moments create the framework that allows you to stay functional and grounded during much larger challenges. Pain will come. When it does, your preparation will be revealed. Your habits, thoughts, and responses will be tested. The way you've trained your mind to handle pressure will become visible in how you speak, how you carry yourself, and how you recover. If you have taken time to build stability within, pain will not dominate your behavior. You will still feel tension, you will still experience emotional and physical strain, but you will remain functional. You will think clearly and respond deliberately. Training the mind and body in advance builds a form of quiet readiness. This readiness does not erase pain, but it changes your position within it. You are no longer caught by surprise. You meet it with awareness and with tools you have practiced. You know how to breathe through the moment. You know how to observe your reactions. You know how to keep your decisions rooted in principle. Pain often shakes assumptions. It interrupts plans. It may take away things you once relied on. Without preparation, that loss feels like collapse. With preparation, it becomes a moment of realignment. You can adjust your actions while staying clear on your priorities. You can allow grief or hardship without turning away from what matters. You can continue forward even while under pressure. This ability to continue without losing your sense of direction is what makes endurance a skill, not just a reaction. Recovery is faster when your mind is trained. Emotional pain lingers longer in a disorganized mind. When you have trained your attention and focused on self-regulation, you do not extend the suffering through resistance or confusion. You do not add unnecessary layers of judgment or panic. You return to what is clear. You ask the right questions. What is required of me now? What is within my control? What behavior aligns with my character? The Stoics understood that pain was part of the structure of existence. They did not view it as a curse. They understood it as a natural challenge, like hunger or cold, that could be met with effort. They treated it as a necessary pressure that builds depth, like resistance in the gym. Pain increases the capacity of the soul when met with consistency and clarity. Endurance is not about waiting for difficulty to pass. It is about continuing to live with intention while difficulty is present. It means holding your position with calm in your face, order in your speech, and integrity in your actions. This posture, practiced again and again, becomes your baseline. You learn that you can operate through difficulty without compromising who you are. That realization makes you strong. The soul is trained through repetition. Every time you stand firm in the middle of pain, your character becomes more stable. Each moment you respond with calm, even while hurting, strengthens your sense of self. Endurance builds through daily discipline and is revealed in moments of pressure. That is the path to resilience. That is the weight that transforms you. 4. Suffering with dignity. Pain often brings shame. When people suffer, they feel exposed. They may feel weak, unstable, or diminished. They may believe their struggle reflects personal failure or inadequacy. This belief adds an emotional burden on top of the hardship. The Stoics rejected this idea. They understood that pain is part of the human condition. It does not ruin your worth. What matters is how you act while in pain. Your response, not your condition, defines your strength. Dignity in suffering comes from consistency in behavior. It means choosing to act in line with your values when pressure rises. It means being truthful when lying would feel easier. It means remaining kind even when wounded. It means continuing to carry out your responsibilities with calm and steadiness, even when you are unsettled inside. These decisions give shape to your character. They build trust in yourself. They also create a stable presence for others who are watching you for guidance or reassurance. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the actions of others to guide his own. He wrote about people who showed modesty in sickness, restraint in anger, and composure in setbacks. He paid attention to those who held their character together under stress. He saw in them living proof that virtue is not tied to circumstance. These examples serve as a compass. They reminded him that he too could act with honor regardless of external events. You do not need to hide your pain. You do not need to pretend it doesn't exist. You can allow it to be present while still carrying yourself with strength. Let your words remain thoughtful. Let your presence remain grounded. Let your behavior remain consistent with your principles. This is how you remain upright through hardship. Let your actions speak clearly. Let them reflect the discipline you've practiced and the values you've chosen. When your conduct is orderly, others gain strength from your example. You become someone others can rely on. You also remind yourself that difficulty does not have the final word. Your behavior does. The Stoics believed that the most powerful person is one who is ruled by reason, not by impulse, even when under pressure. This kind of power cannot be taken by misfortune. It is built by choice and maintained by habit. Dignity is the visible result of that inner strength. It is the visible posture of a soul that has trained itself to act with clarity and purpose when the world is unsteady. Your example matters more when life is painful. Your conduct matters most. Let your dignity become the quiet strength others remember. Let it be the standard you return to again and again as the anchor that keeps your character whole. 5. Pain and purpose. Pain can strip away distractions. It can reveal what matters. It narrows your focus. When everything is easy, it is tempting to scatter your attention across comfort, opinion, and convenience. When pain strikes, your attention becomes sharper. The unnecessary fades. What remains are the people, values, and goals that carry meaning. In the Stoic view, pain clarifies. It cuts through illusion. It removes the false priorities that accumulate over time. It forces reflection. It brings you back to essential questions. It interrupts routine and asks you to evaluate whether your actions reflect what you truly believe. Pain invites a deeper alignment with your principles. In moments of suffering, you are less likely to act on impulse. You begin to ask whether your behavior matches the values you claim to hold. You start to examine how you have been living and whether that life supports the kind of person you want to be. This reflection is difficult, but it is useful. It resets your path. It helps you find direction when you feel lost. When you suffer, ask, what is this showing me about my values? What am I holding on to that no longer serves me? What matters so much that it hurts when it is threatened? These questions do not eliminate the pain, but they bring structure to it. They help you locate the lesson within the discomfort. They bring you back to your center, the part of you that is governed by principle rather than emotion. In that place, clarity becomes possible. The purpose of life is not comfort. The Stoics were clear on this. The goal is not to avoid pain or difficulty. The goal is to become someone capable of meeting those conditions with strength and wisdom. The aim is to live with excellence, to develop virtue, to make choices that reflect courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. Pain reminds you of this by removing what does not matter. It brings urgency. It reminds you that your time is limited, that your actions have weight, that your habits shape who you become. When life becomes too easy, there is a risk of drifting. You may begin to operate on autopilot. Days pass without intention. Challenges seem distant. You rely more on comfort than on effort. Without struggle, there is little urgency to examine your priorities. There is less pressure to develop discipline. A life without hardship can reduce the need to sharpen your judgment or revisit your values. Without friction, momentum takes over and you stop steering your direction with clarity. Pain stops that drift. It interrupts passivity. It pulls your attention away from distractions and forces you to engage with what is real. Pain demands that you examine your circumstances closely. It makes you question your habits, your mindset, and your reactions. You must respond. Avoidance no longer works. You are called to make choices with more focus. You are required to engage actively with your life. Pain closes the gap between what you believe and what you actually do. Pain also sets boundaries. It limits indulgence. It draws attention to areas that need work. When you feel discomfort, you are no longer able to ignore what needs to change. This awareness is often the first step in personal development. Pain forces action, whether the action is physical, emotional, or mental. You are moved to evaluate your approach and correct your course. It becomes harder to rationalize poor decisions when suffering makes the consequences immediate. That response, when formed with intention, brings growth. You begin to build patterns that help you manage difficulty. You adopt habits that strengthen your ability to face future challenges. Growth does not occur by accident. It requires decision and repetition. Strength is a skill. It is built through the effort you put into your response. It forms when you take full responsibility for your behavior and hardship. It grows when you stop searching for escape and begin shaping your actions based on principle. Pain creates the environment for that growth. It sets the stage for a deeper form of strength. That strength is revealed in how you manage your time, your words, your thoughts, and your energy when things are difficult. Pain exposes what is reactive and invites what is steady. It presents the moment when beliefs must become behavior. The ideas you hold must now show themselves in how you live. The test is clear. Your conduct becomes the proof of your preparation. Let pain focus you. Let it guide your attention toward what has lasting value. Let it clarify your direction by removing unnecessary pursuits. Let it raise your standards by making you aware of what you have tolerated for too long. Let it sharpen your self-awareness by confronting you with the reality of your actions. Let that confrontation become a turning point, a moment when you shift from seeking ease towards seeking meaning, a moment when you commit to effort with intention. Purpose is not hidden in comfort. It is shaped by repeated choices. It appears when you keep moving through difficulty with clear intentions. It emerges from decision and is strengthened through endurance. Purpose does not wait for the right moment. It becomes clear through action. When pain reveals what matters, your decisions become more focused. The path becomes visible when you continue walking with commitment. Pain has the capacity to remove what weakens you. It forces you to abandon distractions and confront what is essential. It helps you see where you have been avoiding responsibility or resisting growth. It reveals the gap between what you know and what you practice. In doing so, it brings you into closer contact with your own values. If you are willing to pay attention, pain becomes a guide. It points directly to the places in your life where greater alignment is needed. It offers a chance to realign your life around clarity, honesty, and strength. What no longer supports your growth can be released. What is meaningful can be pursued with greater urgency. Through this process, pain becomes a refining force, one that shapes your direction, your habits, and your identity. 6. Emotional clarity through suffering. Pain exposes what you feel deeply. It removes layers of distraction and reveals the core of your emotional patterns. In the face of suffering, emotions rise to the surface. Anger, sadness, fear, disappointment all become clearer. This clarity is useful. It shows you what you value. It shows you where you are reactive, where you are defensive, and where you are fragile. The Stoics did not dismiss emotion. They studied it. They treated emotions as signals, not commands. An emotion like fear signals that something important may be threatened. Anger signals a boundary may have been crossed. Sadness signals a sense of loss. These signals are valuable because they point you toward reflection. They invite you to ask, is this emotion accurate? Is it useful? Is it guiding me to act well? Or is it pulling me away from reason? Emotional clarity comes from creating distance between the feeling and the action. When you are in pain, that distance becomes harder to maintain, but it is even more essential. The ability to pause, examine what you feel, and then decide how to act is the foundation of emotional discipline. That discipline is built through practice. In moments of suffering, take time to reflect. Write down what you feel. Speak it aloud in a clear and calm tone. Pay attention to your body's reactions, your breathing, your posture, your energy. Notice what sharpens your reaction and what calms it. These habits strengthen your ability to hold steady under pressure. Emotions do not make you weak. Unexamined emotions make you unstable. The Stoic trains to see emotion, acknowledge it, and then choose behavior in alignment with their principles. Through this practice, pain becomes a teacher of emotional clarity. It becomes a mirror that reflects the inner state you might otherwise overlook. When pain is used this way, it sharpens your insight. It reveals where your emotional responses are shaped by habit rather than by awareness. It brings attention to how quickly you react and whether those reactions serve your goals. The ability to step back and observe pain while it is happening creates space. In that space, you find the option to respond with purpose. Over time, this practice builds a calm and structured mindset. You begin to understand the conditions that trigger you. You start to recognize emotional patterns that have gone unchecked. This insight gives you leverage to change them. Developing the ability to observe rather than react strengthens your presence. It builds the kind of patience that is useful in high-pressure situations. You do not feel the need to resolve everything immediately. You do not rush into explanations, arguments, or withdrawal. You can hold the moment in place, examine it, and choose the timing of your next action. That timing matters. Acting too soon can escalate the problem. Waiting too long can cause avoidance. Pain teaches you to recognize the right moment to speak, to listen, or to take a step back. This level of control is rare because it takes repeated effort. It is earned through self-study and small corrections. Each time you pause, reflect, and act with clarity, you build internal trust. That trust is essential. It allows you to carry yourself through difficulty without losing your center. You begin to know yourself as someone who does not unravel under pressure. That stability becomes a form of confidence that is visible in your tone, your posture, and your decisions. Pain also encourages emotional maturity. You learn that intensity does not equal depth. You realize that clarity is more useful than expression for its own sake. As your emotional patterns refine, you no longer depend on external validation to feel understood. You gain confidence in your ability to process your own emotions and communicate them when appropriate. This makes your presence more reliable to others. People feel safer around someone who does not add instability during difficulty. When others around you are unsteady, your balance becomes a source of order. You do not need to dominate or withdraw. You hold your ground. You observe without reacting. You provide clarity through your behavior rather than your volume. This is the kind of presence that earns respect without demanding it. It is built by facing pain directly and learning from it. Let pain bring emotional clarity. Let it show you how to slow your reactions, deepen your observations, and refine your self-understanding. Let it train your mind to stay rooted in what you value, even as emotions rise. Let it teach you to respond with order, with honesty, and with strength. Through this discipline, your inner world becomes more structured, and that structure supports your conduct in every part of life. 7. Resilience as a daily practice. Resilience is not a fixed trait. It is a capacity developed through repetition. The Stoics believed in training the mind daily to face life with composure. This training builds endurance, self-awareness, and the ability to remain effective in adversity. Resilience begins with mindset. Each day is a chance to prepare for future difficulty. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal each morning, reminding himself that the day would bring obstacles. This was not pessimism, it was readiness. Expecting discomfort allows you to meet it without surprise. You prepare your mind to act with steadiness instead of resistance. Daily practices support this preparation. Morning reflection builds mental order. Physical discipline builds tolerance for discomfort. Deliberate speech trains you to be clear under pressure. These are habits that accumulate strength over time. They reduce impulsiveness. They create consistency. They make your life more structured and less chaotic, even in unpredictable situations. Resilience also includes recovery. A resilient person experiences setbacks and emotional disruption like anyone else. What separates them is their ability to return to balance with intention. They do not stay down for long periods. They pause, take inventory of what occurred, and make practical adjustments. This recovery is an active process. It is not automatic. It is built through specific habits such as self-reflection, physical rest, and mental realignment. These practices return the body and mind to a steady state where clear thinking and responsible action become possible again. Reflection is a key part of recovery. After a difficult moment, take time to review it. Ask yourself, what triggered me? What response did I choose? Did it align with my values? What would I do differently if this happened again? These questions strengthen awareness. They help you identify patterns that weaken your behavior under stress. With this insight, you become better prepared for similar challenges in the future. Rest also matters. Physical exhaustion and emotional fatigue reduce your ability to respond well. Recovery includes making space for sleep, solitude, and stillness. The mind resets in quiet. When you allow time to step away from the tension, you regain access to your higher reasoning. You stop reacting from a place of depletion and begin responding from a place of clarity. Making rest part of your recovery routine is a form of discipline. It protects your long-term effectiveness. Re-entering grounds you in your values. When hardship knocks you off course, you need practices that return your focus. This could include journaling, prayer, nature walks, or simple breathing exercises. Anything that helps you recall who you want to be and how you choose to act in adversity becomes part of your reset process. These tools do not remove the difficulty. They realign you with your purpose so you can continue forward. Recovery reduces the fear of future setbacks. When you have experienced the process of regaining control, you stop fearing the disruption. You know that you can face strain and still return to order. This trust in your adaptability creates confidence. It makes you more willing to take responsibility under pressure. You know that even if you falter, you have the tools to correct your course. Apply your values through small, repeated actions. Do what aligns with your standards, even when it is inconvenient. Wake up early when the easier choice is to delay. Speak with honesty when silence would be more comfortable. Hold your posture and tone when frustration builds. Stay quiet when interrupting would be easier. These are acts of internal training. They build a pattern of choosing principle over impulse. With time, these patterns become your natural response. That repetition creates the structure of resilience. It is built from habits, not isolated effort. These small practices become part of your identity. They make your responses more consistent. They make your thoughts more organized. They protect your decisions from chaos. Each day you hold the line in one small area, your foundation becomes more stable. Let resilience become your routine. Let it shape the way you sit, speak, and make decisions. Let it be present in the way you handle minor discomforts, delays, and disappointments. Each small act of control adds to your overall strength. Let each day serve as quiet preparation for larger tests. When they arrive, you will not need to invent new responses. You will act from the training you already carry. This is the structure of a resilient life, measured, repeatable, and deeply grounded. 8. Transforming pain into principle. Pain can lead to bitterness or wisdom. The outcome depends on how you interpret and respond to it. The Stoics chose to turn pain into principle. They allowed suffering to refine their beliefs, sharpen their character, and deepen their understanding of life. To transform pain into principle, begin by identifying what the experience is teaching you. Ask, what lesson is being repeated? What truth is becoming harder to ignore? What standard of behavior does this situation now require? When you draw principles from pain, you create stability. You are no longer reacting to every difficulty. You are following a standard. If you face betrayal, it can sharpen your commitment to honesty. If you face injustice, it can deepen your dedication to fairness. If you lose what you love, it can strengthen your gratitude for what remains. Each form of pain can lead to a higher form of living. Principles give direction. They make future decisions clearer. They act as a compass when emotions are loud and conditions are unstable. The Stoics believed that a well-lived life was built on principles tested through hardship. Pain revealed where virtue was real and where it was only theoretical. Document your insights. Turn them into maxims. Repeat them during reflection. Apply them when you feel tested. Over time, these principles become part of how you live. They no longer need to be recalled. They become automatic. Your character becomes shaped by wisdom that came through direct experience. Pain is often the source of your deepest convictions. It forces a confrontation between what you believe and what you live. It pushes your values out of theory and into action. When you are tested by suffering, vague beliefs become more defined. You begin to see clearly what you are willing to stand for and what no longer holds weight. This process strips away convenience and leaves only what is stable and lasting. It tests the strength of your beliefs through repetition. If a belief cannot hold under pressure, it must be questioned or strengthened. Each hardship highlights what is still fragile and what has become firm. These moments help you revise your priorities. They teach you to rely less on temporary opinions and more on enduring principles. When comfort is gone, pain removes what is weak: excuses, rationalizations, and unexamined assumptions. It forces correction. When something you believed collapses under the weight of experience, you are given the chance to build a better foundation. This is how pain reinforces what lasts. It shows you which values hold through hardship. It teaches you to separate preference from principle. Use pain to define your values with precision. Write them down. Speak them aloud. Apply them in moments of pressure. Let them be shaped by what you have lived through, not just what you have read or imagined. Pain teaches you to live your values with greater seriousness. It adds weight to your decisions and creates a stronger alignment between your words and your actions. Let pain be the place where your life becomes more exact, more intentional, and more focused. Let it be the moment where discipline replaces impulse and where clarity replaces confusion. Let it mark a shift in how you carry yourself. Less reactive, more grounded, more aware of the impact of each decision. Let pain serve your development by turning it into principle. Let each hardship become the source of a stronger foundation. Let it create a more stable, thoughtful, and resilient version of who you are becoming. 9. Leadership through suffering. Suffering reveals who people turn to when things become difficult. In moments of uncertainty, those who have trained themselves to remain steady are looked to for guidance. The Stoics viewed leadership as a role earned through conduct, not granted by title. Pain sharpens that conduct. It tests whether your behavior matches the standards you expect from others. A leader shaped by hardship speaks less from theory and more from lived experience. They have confronted weakness and practiced discipline. They know the cost of collapse and the value of control. This kind of leader does not avoid discomfort. They carry themselves with presence under pressure. They remain composed when others begin to unravel. This steadiness comes from repeated exposure to difficulty and a deep commitment to principle. Leadership through suffering is grounded in example. It is not about control, it is about clarity. Others are drawn to someone who can maintain order while others panic, someone who does not need to dominate but remains consistent in their actions and words. When people see that you do not break under pressure, they begin to trust your direction. That trust is earned, not declared. Pain prepares you for this role by removing illusion. You no longer pretend to be invincible. You understand what it means to be vulnerable without being unstable. You learn to carry hardship with composure. When you face your own pain with integrity, you become more equipped to guide others through theirs. You do not rush to solve everything. You provide structure. You ask useful questions. You keep the environment grounded in action and responsibility. The Stoic leader does not try to inspire through speeches alone. They live in a way that speaks for them. They hold themselves to the same standards they expect from others. They show restraint, courage, and consistency. These traits are practiced, not performed. They are the result of years of facing discomfort with clarity and purpose. Let suffering prepare you to lead. Let it show you how to stay upright when others fall. Let it teach you to be firm without harshness, calm without avoidance, and honest without aggression. Let your behavior become a reference point that others rely on, not because you asked for attention, but because you lived in a way that earned it. 10. The final forging. Every experience of pain shapes your character. By the end of this journey, what remains is no longer raw. It has been tested, tempered, and strengthened. The final chapter of pain's influence is integration, bringing together all the lessons into a life that reflects wisdom, resilience, and calm. The Stoics believed that philosophy was not for reading alone, it was for living. When pain has moved through you and left behind structure, clarity, and principle, the next step is consistency. You must continue walking the path, applying what you have learned in every role you occupy: friend, parent, leader, student, citizen. Daily life is the proving ground. There will be noise, delay, criticism, loss, and failure. These are the conditions where strength is demonstrated. They do not need to disrupt you. They remind you to return to your training. Each moment is a repetition of the work, holding your posture, guarding your speech, organizing your thoughts, and adjusting your course. The final forging of character requires humility. You will make mistakes. There will still be moments where your habits overtake your awareness. You may respond with anger, become distracted by external pressure, or act out of fear. These lapses are part of the process. The Stoics viewed them as signals, not as permanent setbacks. When you notice them, pause. Take the opportunity to return to your principles. These moments provide feedback. They remind you where your attention must go. They help you strengthen your discipline, not abandon it. Pain will continue to act as a guide. Each discomfort, each inner conflict, each difficult decision will bring another test. These reminders are not punishments. They are tools for alignment. When you forget yourself, pain brings you back. It does this through discomfort, imbalance, or emotional resistance. Pay attention to those signals. Use them to reset your posture mentally and physically. The person who continues to reflect and adjust becomes stronger, not through control over all things, but through control over themselves. Mastery is not about perfection, it is about direction. You keep moving in alignment with what you have chosen to stand for. You know the cost of giving into impulses. You know what it feels like to betray your own standards. That knowledge shapes your future decisions. The memory of past missteps does not need to become guilt. It becomes guidance. It teaches you to step with more care, to listen with more awareness, and to speak with more responsibility. With this level of reflection, you gain depth. Your sense of courage shifts from force to consistency. Your honesty becomes more subtle and thoughtful. You do not speak to impress or defend. You speak to clarify. You live in such a way that your presence reflects your principles without the need for explanation. This form of living takes time to build, and pain often accelerates that process. Let pain become part of your identity, not as a wound, but as a tool of shaping. Let it remind you of what you have carried, what you have endured, and how you remained true to your values in moments that could have fractured you. Let it sharpen your sensitivity to what is meaningful. Let it reinforce the difference between what is solid and what is empty, what holds value, and what simply distracts. Each hardship teaches that being prepared matters more than being comfortable. You will meet hardship again. That is the nature of a full life. You will encounter loss, tension, uncertainty, and fatigue. These experiences are not signs of failure. They are part of the rhythm of growth. You will move through them with the tools you have built. You will respond with greater composure because you have practiced returning to your center. You will adjust your course not from panic, but from structure. You have built that structure through repetition. You have aligned your decisions with principle. You have shaped your thoughts through discipline. You have refined your emotions so they support clarity instead of confusion. You have accepted discomfort as part of the process instead of resisting it. That work is internal. It is not visible to everyone. It is often quiet, personal, and difficult, but it is the foundation of a stable life. This is the shape pain leaves behind. It is not decoration. It is not for display. It is structure. Calm, focused, consistent. You carry it with you into every role, every conversation, every challenge. It becomes part of your presence. It becomes part of your integrity. Others may not see the process, but they will feel the result. Let pain shape you into someone steady. Let it deepen your awareness, sharpen your actions, and clarify your intentions. Let it remind you that growth is possible through effort, through courage, and through reflection. Let it build a life that does not collapse in loss, does not drift in chaos, and does not abandon what is just, useful, and true.